a steady kind of promise that you will make it here. You think that confidence arrives all at once, that someday you'll awaken, transformed by circumstance. But growth is quieter than that. It builds in subtle ways, in how you rise again. On unremarkable days, there will be evenings later where you'll sit just fine, not because you solved it all, but because you gave it time. The doubts that feel enormous will shrink to honest size. They won't disappear completely, but they won't run your life, dear younger me. You don't have to rush. Not every closed expression means you're out of touch. The ones who truly see you will stay without a plea, and you will learn to like yourself more steadily. You're doing better than you think right now. You will try and fail at something that once defined your name, and you will think it's over, that you've stepped outside the frame. But failure is an exile, it's shaping you unseen into someone far more grounded than you've ever been. You'll find your voice in fragments, not in one clear shout, in pauses before speaking, in knowing when to bow out, in choosing calm responses when old fears try to lead, in realizing you're enough without excessive speed. Dear younger me, be kinder to your heart. Not everything uncertain is falling apart. Some paths look disconnected before they intertwine, and what feels like delay is often perfect timing. Breathe, you're allowed to grow slow. One day you'll look back gently, not with sharp regret, but gratitude for every risk you almost didn't get. Because the version sitting there on that small unmade bed is braver than you realize, despite the things you said. Dear younger me, hold on but not too tight. Life won't hand you all at once the answers overnight. It unfolds in patient layers, in steps you cannot see, and you become exactly who you're meant to be.
The curtain lifts without a warning, light spills across the floor. I feel it settle on my shoulders like I've been here before. It's been some time since I have stood within this open frame, where every breath becomes a sound and every sound a name. I used to chase the louder nights, the rush of being seen, the dazzling rush of crowded rooms and stages dressed in sheen. But silence shaped me differently in rooms without applause. It taught me how to hear myself without the outside cause. Now when I step into this glow, my pulse is calm and sure. I do not need the noise to rise, to feel that I endure. The piano finds a gentle key, the bass begins to flow. A rhythm steady, grounded, warm, like something I already know. I open with an honest note, not just truth and full respect. The audience is breathing soft, a sea of patient eyes. I sing not to impress the room, but simply to arise. Each phrase lands closer to my chest than any song before, because I'm not performing now, I'm opening a door. There were years I shaped my sound to fit a narrow mold, sanding down the grain of me to match what I was told. But depth cannot be manufactured or filtered into shine. It grows in quiet solitude until the roots align. So now I let the lower notes resonate and stay. Let every textured breath reveal the woman of today. The spotlight does not blind me, it feels like morning air. A circle of intentional light that says remain right there. I see a face in the second row, hands folded near her heart. If even one line reaches her, then that alone's an art. The brush drums keep a steady sway, the guitar threads between electric keys and subtle hues support but never lean. My voice rises not in force but fuller than before, a tone that carries history without the weight it wore. I sing of roads I wandered off, of doubts I learned to face, of how returning to myself was not a fall from grace. When the final chorus settles into the waiting air, there is no frantic need for more, no hunger for a glare. Applause begins in gentle waves, then builds but doesn't own. The deeper triumph lives within a steadier backbone. I bow not as a conqueror or someone newly crowned, but as a woman finally sure of where her voice is found. Oh, the curtain falls in softened light, the stage returns to calm, yet something stronger lingers, still a quiet lasting balm. I did not come to claim the past or resurrect its flame. I came to stand in present tone without a need for fame. And as I step beyond the glow into the waiting hall, I carry not the echo's rush but something truer still, because the place I truly sought was never just the song, it was the ground beneath my feet where my voice belongs.
Pull it from the back of the closet, fabric cool and still, sleeves remembering the shape of last year's quiet chill. The scent of cedar lingers, faint but clear and clean, like something folded carefully between what's been and seen. Button smooth beneath my thumb, collar brushed with light, mirror catching older lines in softer winter white. I shrug it over shoulders, feel the weight align, not heavy, not dramatic, just settling into mine. First coat of the season, air turning sharp and thin, breath visible for seconds before it pulls back in. No rush to prove endurance, no rush to chase the cold, just stepping out more mindful than I was years ago. The piano moves in open tones, cool but never bleak, brushes trace a gentle pulse, measured, calm, unique. The bass line hums beneath low and grounded deep, like a steady inner warmth the weather cannot keep. Leaves along the sidewalk, crisp beneath my stride, colors shifting quietly along the curbside. There's something in transition that used to feel abrupt. Now it feels like tuning instead of being cut. I used to fight the cooling, cling to fading heat, wishing days were longer, unwilling to retreat. But seasons have their timing, independent of my will, and learning to accept that feels surprisingly still. First coat of the season, hands tucked in the seam, street lights glowing earlier than summer ever seemed. Shops with fogged up windows, viewed an amber glow. Everything more intimate in the slower tempo. Let it change, you'll change too. And that's fine. There's comfort in the layering and scarves around the throat, in feeling slightly smaller inside a thicker coat. Not shrinking in importance, just closer to the core, aware of every heartbeat behind the closing door. The wind moves down the avenue, carrying its tone, but I don't brace against it or walk it off alone. I move with steady foot and not racing for the train, because colder air can clarify what heat made hard to name. First coat of the season, not lost but different light, a gentler kind of brightness against the coming night. Some chapters cool on purpose to sharpen what we see, and standing in that clarity feels quietly like me. It fits just like it should. I turn the final corner toward a glowing home, fabric warming with my pace, no longer feeling cold. The door clicks closed behind me, outside the dust can roam, and I hang the coat up ready for the days to come.
You used to turn the handle twice before you locked the door. Said it made you certain even though once worked before. Now I catch my own hand doing it without a second thought. A small and quiet memory. My body somehow caught you folded towels a certain way, edges lined in place. I never paid attention then. Now I trace the shade. The coffee tastes a little strong because of how you brewed. One extra spoon, no sugar, like something understood. I didn't think that love would live in gestures quite so small. Not in the way a jacket hangs or how you cleared the hall. You hum beneath your breath at night when reading in the chair. A low and steady melody painted frames around, but something in the quiet keeps your outline found. It isn't sharp or aching or pulling me undone. It's simply how our living intertwined as one. You left your favorite glass behind, the rim slightly worn. I keep it near the sink without feeling torn. I used to think forgetting was proof that I was strong, but now I see remembering does not mean I belong to what we were completely or what we tried to be. It just means that your presence once mattered deeply. Oh, I tie my hair the way you like without realizing why. I choose the corner table where we'd let ours fly. These habits don't demand return or whisper we were wrong. They simply show that loving can settle long. There's tenderness in noticing the marks we gently leave, not scars that need repairing or reasons to grieve. You shape the way I listen, more patient than before. You taught me how to pause instead of keeping score. Even the way I speak at times carries bits of you, not as imitation, but something grown and true. I don't resent these echoes or wish them out of sight. They're woven into daily breath and subtle, quiet light. One day these habits may dissolve or soften into air, but right now they are reminders that we were careful there. We loved in ordinary ways without dramatic art, and that is why your smallest traits still linger in my heart. Not heavy, not demanding, not asking to rewind, just gentle proof of what we shared in habits left behind. And as I turn the handle twice before I close the door, I smile at how some parts of you live here a little more.
Gravel shifting under shoes, breath steady warm. Last few steps along the path after winding form. Trees thinning near the summit, sky widening slow. City stretched in distant lines far below. I set my bag beside the bench, wood weathered pale. Initials carved in corners, stories without a tale. Wind moves across the open hill, cool against my face, carrying a broader view of time and place. Bench above the city, no applause, no sign, just quiet confirmation. The climb was mine. No ribbon at the finish, no camera in the sky, just lungs returning evenly after steady try. The piano open, spacious chords, clear and lightly held. Brushes mark a gentle sway, unrushed, unexcelled. The bass line hums beneath it, deep like rooted ground. A steady inner echo in the thinner sound. I look at streets I walked before, now small and thin. Traffic threads in silent lines where noise once lived within. Buildings that felt towering from sidewalk point of view now rest in measured patterns, softened in the blue. I didn't race the trail or measure every mile. No stopwatch at the summit, no competitive smile. Just step and breath repeated over dirt and stone, until the wider horizon one was clearly shown. Bench above the city, perspective in the air, not shrinking what I've carried, just seeing it from there. The weight I brought uphill doesn't feel as tight, spread out beneath the sky in diffused light. You made it, not louder, just steady. A couple passes quietly with water and a map. We share a knot of understanding in that silent gap. Everyone arriving in their separate way, each one finding something at the end of day. Cloud shadows drift across blocks and avenues, light and shade exchanging in subtle shifting hues. Nothing down below has changed in its daily flow, but distance grants a gentler frame to what I know. Bench above the city, sun lowering slow, golden edges on the glass far below. I stand without reluctance, sling the bag in place, carrying the quiet view back into the race. Take it with you. The path curves down in gravel, same stones as before, but steps feel slightly lighter than when I climbed for more. Bench above the city, no trophy, no decree, just a quiet kind of proof of what I can be.
When you closed the door behind you, it didn't shatter me in two. There was silence, yes, and shaking, but I didn't disappear with you. I stood there in the quiet, with my pulse against my skin, realizing something steady had been waking from within. For so long I had measured my reflection in your eyes, adjusted all my edges, smoothed my truth into disguise. Not because you forced it, not because you asked, but loving you so deeply made me bend too fast. I thought losing you would hollow every corner of my chest, that I'd wander through the hours like a guest without a rest. But something unexpected rose up clear and true, a voice I kept on whisper breaking through. I found me in the leaving, in the space you didn't fill. In the mornings I woke early, and the nights I learned to be still. Not broken into pieces, not aching to be saved, just standing in my own name, unapologetic brave. I started drinking coffee the way I like it strong, stopped apologizing for feeling things too long. I rearranged the furniture of habits in my head, let go of tiny doubts I'd quietly I walked alone through crowded streets without shrinking from the air. Let laughter come unfiltered, let strangers see me there. I wore the dress you never liked and felt my shoulders rise, not out of spite or anger, but because it felt like mine. I don't blame you for the ending, we loved the best we could, but somewhere in that loving I forgot what felt like good. To me, not just to us, to my own steady flame. And losing you revealed the difference in my name. I found me in the leaving, in the ache that didn't stay, in the mirror every morning where I didn't look away. There's power in the breaking when it clears the view of who you are beneath the love you once outgrew. I started making plans again that didn't need a pair. Booked a ticket somewhere distant without asking if you'd care. Signed my name to dreams I used to set aside, because I thought devotion meant letting parts of me hide. Now when I think about you, there's warmth without the plea, gratitude for what we were, and space for who I'll be. You were part of my becoming, but not my only shape, and I don't need your shadow to validate my escape. I found me in the leaving, in the rhythm of my breath, in the gentle understanding that love is not a debt. It's a meeting, not a merging, not dissolving into two. And now I stand more centered in everything I do. If someday we cross paths again, you'll see it in my stride, the quiet kind of confidence I no longer try to hide. Not hardened by the ending, not closed against the start, just rooted in a deeper trust inside my own heart. I found me in the leaving, and that is what remains. Not a scar to carry forward, but a wisdom in my veins. Loving you was beautiful, but loving me is true. And now I walk into the world whole without you.
You keep waiting for a signal, like a traffic light to change, like someone with authority will step into your range, stamp a seal across your chest, approve your chosen lane, hand you official clearance to feel what you explain. You rehearse the conversation in case they ask you why you switch directions, why you let some chances die, why you didn't follow the blueprint they designed, why you took the longer road and left their path behind. You don't need permission to pivot, shift or bend. You don't need a committee to tell you when to end. Not every door requires a key from someone else. You're allowed to authorize yourself. The piano pushes forward, firm chords lightly bright, brushes snap with clarity, confident, not tight. The bass line walks beneath it, steady, upright, clean, like backbone under language that's rarely seen. You think you need consensus before you change your name, before you chase the quieter dream instead of louder fame, before you rest at midday, before you move away, before you say this doesn't fit me anymore today. You ask invisible judges if you're qualified to try, as if courage must be notarized before you apply. justify. But growth doesn't send memos or wait in line for review. It happens when you claim what's already true. You don't need permission to start when you're not ready, to walk when you're unsteady, to speak when your voice shakes. You don't need applause to validate the leap, or witness signatures to promises you keep. You can begin right here, right now. You've been collecting maybes from people half involved, letting second-hand opinions dictate what gets resolved. But nobody else is waking inside your skin each day. Nobody else is carrying the weight you choose to weigh. You fear disappointing faces you respect, but disappointing yourself is harder to correct. There's no final warning, no trumpet in the hall, just quiet dissatisfaction if you never call. You don't need permission to outgrow who you were, to redraw expectations, to let old visions blur. You don't need a ceremony or a perfect start, just a steady private yes inside your heart. Say it. Say it. The world won't send an envelope with clearance to be free. It won't announce you're turning with grand decree. So if you're waiting for approval to live the way you choose, you might wait forever and still refuse. You don't need permission, you already know the light you're watching for is yours to let it glow. No committee vote required, no signature to see. You don't need permission, you just need to be. We always choose the corner seat like nothing's changed at all. Same warm wood beneath our hands, same laughter in the hall. Years have moved in different ways across our separate days. Different cities, different rooms, different kinds of haze. But when we sit across this space, the distance disappears. Time folds softly at the edge of stories and of years. You know the way I lift my brow when something feels absurd. You catch the meaning in my pause before I say a word. We've seen each other win and fall, through heartbreak, doubt and chance, through risky leaps and careful turns, through every awkward dance. There's comfort in your steady tone that never tries to fix you. Listen first, then speak with care. In measured, honest mix, we don't compete for who has grown or who has suffered more. We meet as we are now and leave comparison at the door. Remember when we stayed up late with futures in our hands, drawing maps on scrap paper, building fragile plans. Some of them have come to life, some gently faded through, but what remained unshaken
still surprises me. Not loud but rich and deep. It lands like something familiar that memory can keep. We've changed in subtle layered ways, more patient, less extreme. Yet sitting here beside you feels like stepping in a dream. The bass of conversation hums soft under every phrase, a rhythm shaped by history and shared unspoken ways. There's freedom in being fully known without the need to shine. You've seen the edges of my doubt and still you stand by mine. No grand declarations here, no dramatic vow, just the simple act of showing up again and here and now. If life should stretch us far apart with miles we cannot see, I know this table waits somewhere in quiet memory, because it isn't wood or walls that make this place feel right. It's how our stories intertwine in steady living light. We gather all the scattered weeks and lay them gently down, trade headlines of our living days without a hidden frown. There's something sacred in this season, how our voices blend. No need to guard, no need to prove, just friend beside a friend. And when we rise to leave tonight with promises to call, I carry more than words away, I carry us through all. The world can spin in hurried turns with changes unforeseen, but there will always be this seat where we have always been. And every time we meet again, no matter what we do, we return not just to this table, but to the truest view.
I hadn't planned on stopping here, just walking past the block, but something in the doorway made my footsteps pause and stop. The paint is slightly faded, the sign hangs just the same, a little worn around the edge but proud without a claim. The bell above the handle still rings that softened chime, like it's been keeping rhythm all this passing time. Tables set in familiar rows, wood polished by the years, carrying quiet conversations and laughter once held here. Back at the corner cafe, where nothing feels too fast, the chairs remember stories from a long and distant past, not frozen in nostalgia, not trapped in yesterday, just gently holding echoes that never fade away. The piano moves in mellow chords, comfortable and low. Brushes sweep a patient groove with an easy undertow. The bass line hums like memory, steady and refined, a quiet affirmation of how we change with time. I used to sit right near the glass with notebooks spread around, writing plans and restless scene of cities I had found, believing every small delay was something I must fight, like life would only count for me if it moved at constant height. Now I sit without that urgency, just coffee in my hand, watching younger versions of myself across the stand. They talk in animated tones about what they will do. I smile into the steam because I once did too. Back at the corner cafe, I see it differently. The rush I used to carry no longer carries me. There's beauty in the slowing, in letting moments stay, in not needing tomorrow to just have felt a day. just didn't know. The barista nods in passing. Though we've never met, there's comfort in the ordinary and small details we get. The way the light bends inward through the afternoon, casting quiet patterns that fade away too soon. I don't regret the striving or how intense I felt. Every restless heartbeat, every card I dealt, they shape the one now sitting in this wooden chair. Calmer in reflection, more open and aware. Back at the corner cafe, the years don't press too hard. They settle like a melody, familiar, softly barred. Not longing for a redo, not wishing to replace, just honoring the distance between then and this place. You made it here in your own way. I finish what is in my cup and stand without a rush. The bell above the doorway gives that gentle hush. Outside the street keeps moving, but something in me stays. A steady kind of gratitude for all my scattered days. Back at the corner cafe, I understand at last. You don't outgrow your former self, you simply grow more vast. And time is not a thief at all, it's shaping what we see, turning restless ambition into clarity.
To shrink inside reflections, tilting mirrors to be kind, searching for a better outline, some improved design. I measured all my quiet parts against a louder frame, tried to rearrange my edges to fit a borrowed name, but something in my steady breath refused to disappear. A deeper note beneath the noise, consistent, calm and clear. I began to notice patterns in the way I would retreat, dimming down my natural tone to make another complete. It felt polite, it felt mature to soften who I am, but compromise of core and truth is never part of plan. So I stood still one morning without adjusting light and looked at every honest line without the urge to fight. There is history in my posture, strength within my gaze, not perfection carved in stone, but growth through layered days. I carry laughter shaped by time, a voice both low and warm. I've learned that gentle does not mean I must conform. I bless the younger version who tried so hard to please. She did her best with what she knew to navigate the seas. Now I take her by the hand and tell her we are fine. We do not need a brighter stage or constant headline. There's freedom in accepting the space my body takes, the sound my unfiltered truth naturally makes. I do not have to chase the crowd or echo what they claim. I am complete and standing fully in my own name. Comparison is fading, a self-defined. I dress my mornings how I choose, walk at my own pace. I speak without rehearsing or guarding every phrase. If doubt should knock upon my door, I let it enter slow. I listen without panic, then kindly let it go. There is power in my softness, in the way I hold compassion without losing the boundaries I've told. I am not late to living, not behind some line. My timing is intentional and perfectly mine. The world may spin in louder tones with brighter claims to fame, but I have found a centered ground that no one else can claim. I honor every scar I have, each lesson, each mistake. They are not marks of failure, but maps of what I make. When I meet my own reflection in glass or passing rain, I see a woman standing tall, unafraid of change. No borrowed rhythm guides my step, no hidden need to prove. Just grounded breath and open hands in every choice I move. I love the depth within my voice, the calm inside my frame. I walk this path deliberately, not chasing, not the same. And when I say I trust myself, it's not a grand display. It's simply living honestly in how I shape each day. Fully present, fully known, without disguise or claim. I am enough in quiet strength, fully in my own
I turn the dial past midnight, room lit soft and low. Streetlights through the curtains, casting lines across the floor. The day has finally loosened its grip around my chest. Shoes by the door, jacket hung, body needing rest. There's something in the static before the signal clears, a fragile kind of distance between the now and here. Then a voice comes through the hum, warm and unannounced, filling up the empty room without a need to bounce. Static and a voice floating through the air, not speaking directly to me, but somehow meeting there. No spotlight, no bright screen, no face for me to see, just words across a frequency, landing quietly. The piano leans in lightly, note space calm and wide. Brushes trace a tender beat like waves along a tide. The bass line hums beneath it, low and steady, slow, a grounding undercurrent in the midnight glow. He talks about small stories, callers from the road, late shift drivers checking in, carrying their load. A nurse between her break times, a student wide awake, each one sending fragments across the airwaves lake. I sit back on the sofa, volume turned just right, not loud enough to fill it all, just enough for night. There's comfort in the knowing others share this hour, invisible connections in a hidden tower. Static and a voice reminds me I'm not alone, even in the quiet of a room I call my own. No need for conversation, no need to explain, just listening to the rhythm of someone else's lane. you're not the only one still awake. Right now, a song begins without a rush, guitar and mellow keys, nothing loud or restless, just something meant to ease. I let it move around me without trying to hold, the kind of gentle melody that doesn't grow old. The host returns with laughter, soft against the night, thanks the unseen audience tuning in from sight. And I feel that subtle thread stretching through the dark, linking quiet kitchens and cars in distant parks. Static in a voice carried by the sky, a reminder that connection doesn't have to try. It can live in frequencies between what's loud and clear, and knowing somewhere out there another heart can hear. Stay a while, it's alright. I turn the dial a little more, then let it rest in place. The room no longer feels as wide or empty in its space, because sometimes all it takes to steady what you feel is a voice across the silence, making quiet real.
I saw you through the window first, reflected in the glass. City lights behind your shoulders, cars sliding past. You look the same and not the same, a little more defined, like time had drawn a steady line across your mind. I almost turned and walked away before you saw me there, but something in the quiet pool kept me in that air. You stepped inside and caught my eye, a pause, a breath, a beat. No shock, no shattered history, just memory on repeat. We spoke like careful strangers, polite but not unkind, testing how the past would sit between your words and mine. The bartender dimmed the lights, music brushed the room, a low impatient rhythm giving space to bloom. You asked how I had been these days, I said I've been alright, and meant it in a truer way than I once might. We didn't mention what went wrong or who had let go first. We stayed within the present tense, avoiding what had hurt. Your laugh came softer than before, less eager to impress, more grounded in itself, without excess. I noticed how you held your glass the same familiar way, thumb resting on the rim like you used to do each day. For a moment it felt easy, like nothing had been lost, like we had only stepped aside, not counted any cost. I imagined what would happen if I reached across the bar, if I said we could try again, not wander quite so far. The words rose up inside my chest, warm and dangerously near, balanced on the edge of breath, clear. But love is not nostalgia or a memory replayed. It's not a door you open because the night has have built my own path since we walked apart. Strength grown in solitude, layered in my heart. If I had asked you then to stay, it would not be from need, but from the sweetness of recall, not something we both need. You touched my hand in passing, not urgent, not unsure, just a gesture recognizing what we once were. And in that contact lived a truth, simple and aware, that sometimes loving well means leaving something there. The night moved on around us, glasses clinked and fell. We stood beneath the amber lights and did not break the spell. You said it was good to see me, I said the same to you, and meant it without adding what I almost let slip through. Outside the air felt cooler, sharper on my skin. I carried not regret but discipline within, because the love we had was real and beautiful and brave. But asking you to stay again would ask it to behave like something it no longer is, or something we outgrew. So I let the moment settle without undoing you. And though the words were close enough to tremble on my way, I chose the quiet dignity of not asking you to stay.
Automatic doors slide apart with that familiar chime. Cold air mixing instantly with warmer store-bought time. Shelves stacked in careful symmetry, snacks and bottled drinks. Receipt printer softly sighs every time it blinks. Microwaves humming corner light, coffee machine still warm. Plastic stools beside the glass facing parking lot and storm. Security monitor glow reflecting in my eyes. Quiet aisles stretching out under sleepless skies. Fluorescent at 3 a.m. Nothing truly closed. Street outside half emptied out. Engines decomposed. Just strangers stepping in and out for something quick and small, and me behind the counter witnessing it all. The piano keeps a steady line, mellow, low and clear. Brushes mark a patient beat like footsteps drawing near. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and grounded slow. A subtle kind of comfort in the neon glow. A taxi driver counts his coins with tired, steady hands. A student buys instant noodles with late night study plans. Some tapping on the windows in quiet silver tracks. I scan the barcodes carefully, each beep a measured tone. Small transactions marking moments not my own. We trade a nod, a thank you, nothing more required. But even brief exchanges feel quietly wired. Fluorescent at 3 a.m. keeps a different pace. No rush of crowded lunchtime, no daytime racing face. Just half-spoken conversations, soft against the glass, and headlights cutting briefly as they pass. Take your time, It's still night. You're not late. The coffee pot is nearly empty. I refill it slow, steam rising into bright artificial glow. Outside the rain grows lighter, then almost disappears, leaving damp reflections across the darker years. There's dignity in staying while others sleep inside, and holding open hours with nothing left to hide. This store won't make the headlines or carry any fame, but light that doesn't flicker still matters just the same. Fluorescent at 3 a.m. Door sliding one more time. Another quiet figure crossing that thin line between the darkened parking lot and steady indoor gleam. And I stand in that in between like part of a small beam, still here. Turns toward 4, morning on its way. Soon delivery trucks will come with boxes to display. Fluorescent at 3 a.m. Not loud, not grand, not new, just steady in the sleepless hours, shining through.
You're sleeping on the sofa, one arm across your face. The television flickers, soft shadows in the space. I watch the rise and fall of breath I know by heart, and wonder how two steady hands can still choose to part. There's nothing wrong between us, no cruel or careless lie, no storm we never weathered, no unanswered why. Just roads that split in silence, dreams that grew apart, two different kinds of future beating in one heart. Loving you means letting go, not turning cold or small, not closing up the memory or pretending we had none at all. It means I see you clearly and still release your hand, because holding you too tightly wouldn't let you stay. You want a life that travels new cities every year, windows open wide to chance without a hint of fear. I want something rooted, a garden I can tend, mornings that repeat themselves and nights that softly bend. Neither dream is lesser, neither wish is wrong. We simply hear a different key inside the same old song, and forcing them together within what we have built, until our gentle laughter turned into quiet guilt. I brush a curl from your forehead, careful not to wake, knowing when the sun comes up there's a step we have to take. Not out of anger, not out of regret, but because love deserves the deep deepest kind of respect. Loving you means letting go while my heart still beats. It means I choose your freedom even if it costs my peace. It means I won't ask you to shrink your open sky just to keep you close enough to say we didn't try. We talk about it softly over cups of tea. No raised voices breaking what's still tenderly alive between our fingers, warm between our knees. Just two people telling truth with steady honesty. You say you'll miss my quiet, the way I read your moods, how I always left the light on and overcooked the food. I say I'll miss your wildness, your restless shining grin, the way you filled the room just by walking in. There's comfort in the knowing we gave it everything. We didn't hold back pieces or hesitate to sing. And maybe that's why this goodbye feels clean instead of torn, because love that's fully lived doesn't leave you worn. Loving you means letting go and trusting what we shared will ripple through our separate lives. Proof that once we cared, not a failure to remember, not a chapter closed in shame, but a bridge we crossed together before we chose our lanes. When morning finally reaches across the wooden floor, we won't delay the moment or hover at the door. I'll hold you one last time without trying to undo the strength it takes to walk away from someone still loved and true. Loving you means letting go with gratitude, not fear, with eyes that meet in kindness and voices calm and clear. And somewhere in another year, when someone says your name, I'll smile and know that loving you was never a mistake.
I don't call my friends anymore, not for basic stuff. I don't ask my brother if the tire looks rough. I don't read instructions front to back like art. I type 3 shaky keywords and let the search engine start. Why does my sink make that noise? Is this rash okay? How to fold a fitted sheet without losing half the day. I've diagnosed my mood swings at least 1,000 times. According to the internet, I've lived 9 different lives. I Googled it first before I felt a thing, before I formed an opinion or questioned anything. I scroll past actual experts with degrees and years, but trust a guy named Real Dad 42 to calm my fears. The piano's got a playful stride, a wink inside the groove. Brushes snap with irony in every little move. The bass line walks sarcastic, low amused, aware, like it knows I just believed a stranger's common thread. I once convinced myself I had 3 rare diseases based on a forum post with 15 broken pieces. Turns out I was just dehydrated and mildly overworked, but panic feels convincing when you let the browser lurk. I Googled it first before I chose to think, before I called a human voice or step back from the brink. There's something oddly soothing in seeing text appear, as if the blinking cursor means control is near. Ooh, maybe close the tab, just maybe. I've watched 6 minutes of 12 yours on how to boil rice. Compare 12 different kettles for something warm and nice. Read 30 product reviews on socks I didn't need, all because comparison feels like guaranteed speed. There's comfort in the algorithm predicting what I'll buy, recommending articles about why I feel shy. But sometimes I forget the internet's not wise. It just reflects my keywords back into my eyes. I googled it first, but here's the twist I found. Most answers were already floating somewhere in the background. Common sense in hiding under all the tabs, buried beneath dramatic threads and clickbait headline grabs. Maybe ask a person. So now I try a new rule before I start to scroll. I sit with the confusion, let uncertainty unfold, because not every question needs a search result. Some answers grow in silence without default. I googled it first for years and years and years, but lately I've been practicing listening to what appears when I don't outsource thinking to a glowing rectangle burst. Sometimes I already know before I Google it first.
Every road I've walked still lives beneath my feet, not as weight but as a quiet beat. Moments lay as soft and wide, carried gently at my side. I have known beginnings small, rooms where I felt 10 feet tall, and spaces where my voice felt thin, learning how to settle in. Nothing vanished in the air, every hope and every care left a trace, a steady thread woven through the life I've led. I used to think the point was speed, to gather proof, to plant a seed, as if worth was measured fast by how far the shadow cast. But time has taught us slower art, how to listen to the heart, how to value steady ground over crowns that spin around. There were seasons bright with change, stretches feeling wide and strange, yet through every shifting scene something constant stayed between. A deeper breath, a center tone, growing stronger on its own. Not dramatic, not extreme, just faithful as a living stream. The piano underneath my thought plays lessons quietly taught in patience, grace, and gentle will, in knowing when to stand still. I've loved and lost and loved once more, closed and opened careful doors, watched myself evolve in place with softer lines across my face, and none of it was waste or wrong. Every verse became a song, each uncertain trembling start built a steadier heart. Now when I look toward what's ahead, I don't feel fear or dread, just a curiosity about who I'll grow to be. I don't need a perfect chart or a flawless part, just the courage to remain open in both joy and strain. The bass of memory hums below, a grounding constant undertow, reminding me I'm shaped by light, even through the longest night. What we carry isn't loud, it doesn't bow to any crowd, it's warmth inside the chest that tells us we've been blessed. With chances small and chances grand, with helping hands and times we stand, with mornings rich in quiet air and evenings shaped by care. If I could speak to who I was before I understood, because I'd say keep walking, keep your pace. You are already in your place. The world will turn in endless spin, but hold the steady hum within, that quiet truth you've always known. It is the root of what has grown. So here I stand, no need to prove, content within the forward move, grateful for the paths I've crossed, for what I found and what I lost. Every chapter, every door adds to what I'm living for, and in this calm unfolding view I carry forward something true. Not perfection, not a claim, not a borrowed name, but a life both strong and kind, with open heart and grounded mind. Whatever waits beyond this bend, I'll meet it as a living friend, with steady breath and vision clear, carrying hope from year to year.
The building's mostly quiet now, desks cleared, screens gone dark. Only one lamp glowing soft, leaving a martyr's mark. Outside the traffic thins to hum, windows fade to gray. The noise that filled the hours has finally slipped away. I lean back in the chair, loosen up my tie, let the steady rhythm of the evening settle by. There's no applause waiting, no headline on the wall, just the quiet understanding that I gave today my all. Lights still on in this nearly empty room, not for show, not for display, just finishing what I do. No dramatic ending, no confetti in the air, just a calm and honest effort lingering there. The piano rests in lower keys, gentle and composed. Brushes sketch a subtle beat, unforced, unopposed. The bass line hums assurance, deep and warm and slow. A steady kind of presence only I need to know. There were moments in the morning that felt too much to hold, questions stacked like paperwork, unanswered, uncontrolled. I handled what I could, let the rest remain. Learning not to carry every ounce of strain. I used to chase completion like it proved my worth, as if crossing every item justified my birth. But tonight I see it clearer in the dimmed down light. It's not about perfection, it's about the honest fight. Lights still on because I chose to stay, not to outlast someone else, not to win the day, just to meet my standard, quiet, firm and true, doing what was mine to do. That's enough, you did enough, let it rest. That's enough, you did enough, that's enough, you did enough. I gather up the scattered notes, slide them into place. Not every plan unfolded with precision or with grace. Still there's something grounded in how the hours were spent. A steady contribution, not loud but fully meant. The city outside flickers, reflections on the glass. Somewhere someone's celebrating, somewhere dreams have passed. But comparison grows silent in this softened space. Because I've learned to measure by my own steady pace. Lights still on for a moment more, not from pressure's whisper or some invisible score, just honoring the effort that filled these working hours, respecting quiet discipline as one of my true powers. Turn it off, you've earned the night. I switch the final lamp away, let darkness seize the room. Not heavy, not uncertain, just making needed room. Tomorrow will arrive again with tasks I haven't seen, but I will meet them rested, balanced and serene. Lights still on was never about the shine, it was about consistency and drawing a clear line between relentless pushing and showing up with care. Tonight I leave with steady steps and lighter air. That's enough, did enough, that's enough, did enough.
Every road I've walked still hums beneath my feet. Not as weight, but as a rhythm, moments layered into me, quietly given. I have known beginnings, small rooms where I stood unsure, and places where my voice rang wide, clear and secure. Nothing vanished with the years, nothing was in vain. Every choice and every turn left a living grain. I used to think arrival meant a summit bright and high, but meaning lives in daily breath, not only in the sky. There were seasons full of change, edges sharp and new, yet through each shifting landscape something steady grew. A centered tone within my chest, a warmth I could depend. Not loud, not chasing after more, but faithful to the end. I've loved in ways that shape my frame and let some chapters close. Watch myself evolve through time like something that still flows. I no longer race the clock or measure worth by speed. I plant intention in the ground and water it with heat. The piano of experience plays softly in my mind. Lessons learned in patient tones, gentle and refined. I carry laughter, carry loss, carry open hands, carry strength that doesn't shout but simply stands. The world can spin in hurried arcs with headlines flashing bright, yet I remain within my pace, balanced in my light. I am not seeking flawless days or perfect endless climb. I'm listening for alignment between my breath and time. There's courage in consistency, in showing up each dawn, in tending to the quiet work long after praise is gone. Every friendship, every love, every risk I chose built a deeper register within my undertones. Now when I look toward the bend where future paths extend, I feel curiosity more than needing to defend. I do not across the ground I've grown from what I gained and lost. What stays with me is not applause or echoes of acclaim. It's the steady sense of self unattached to name. It's the warmth inside my chest when choices feel aligned. The way I meet uncertainty with open, steady mind. If storms should rise along the way or plans begin to shift, I'll anchor to this inner pulse, this quiet, constant gift. Not rigid, not unmoving, but rooted, calm, aware, flexible as living branches, open to the air. I gather all my former selves and hold them side by side, not wishing to erase a one or push them all aside. They brought me to this present ground where breath and purpose meet, where hope is not a fragile wish but something concrete. So whatever waits beyond this line, whatever time may be, I step into it fully formed with what stays here in me. No borrowed light to chase or claim, no need to rearrange, just steady warmth and forward stride, embracing every change. Because the truest thing I own through every shifting sea is this resilient, quiet hope that stays with me.
The elevator hums and stops, a soft mechanical sigh. Doors slide open quietly on beige and muted light. Hallway stretching out ahead, carpet warm but clean. Motion sensors flicker on where I have always been. Keys are cool inside my palm, steps measured and slow. Neighbors' doors all standing still with nothing left to show. Television murmurs faint behind a painted wall. Someone washing dishes late, water lightly falls. Hallway lights on motion, blinking as I pass. Each one waking briefly, then dimming back to black. No fanfare in the evening, no music, no parade, just footsteps echoing softly in a narrow shade. The piano keeps a gentle tone, low and rounded sound. Brushes tap a steady beat, barely above the ground. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and almost warm, like a quiet reassurance after any storm. I think about the hours that filled the earlier day, conversations, emails, things I had to say. Some went how I wanted, some refused to bend, but all of them are finished, for tonight at least the end. There's comfort in the corridor, in knowing what comes next. The same small turn of doorknob, the same familiar text of light switch by the entrance, shoes lined by the mat, a coat hook waiting patiently for where I set my hat. Hallway lights on motion, marking every stride, small confirmations gently that I am inside, not chasing any outcome, not proving what I've done, just walking toward a quiet space when all the tasks are done. You made it home, let it go. For now neighbor's laughter rises through the ceiling thin. Somebody else arriving with grocery bags in hand. Lives unfold in parallel behind each painted door. Separate but steady, like they've been before. I reach my own apartment, key turning with a click. The hallway light behind me fades away, not quick, but gradual and certain, as if it understands that rest is not surrender, just unclenching hands. Hallway lights on motion did their quiet part, guiding without asking for applause or art. And in that simple glowing, there's something I can see, that not all guidance shouts, sometimes it walks with me. Close the door, you're safe here. The latch falls into silence, the room exhales with me. Outside the corridor returns to dim anonymity. Tomorrow they will light again for someone else's way, but tonight they marked my ending of an ordinary day.
We don't speak anymore, not the way we used to do. No late night calls, no folded notes, no plans we have new. Your name no longer lights my phone or lingers in the air. The chair across from mine at night stays simply a chair. And yet when I think back on us, I don't feel the need to shrink it down to something smaller, call it misread. We love with open windows, letting sunlight in, not guarded by suspicion or weighed by hidden sin. There were mornings full of laughter, evenings slow and deep, conversations drifting wide before we fell asleep. We weren't a perfect story without a single scene, but love is not perfection, it's living in between. I remember how you listened like my words were rare, how your quiet presence changed the air. We walked through crowded streets, hands brushing side by side, not needing grand displays or anything to hide. If I measure what we had against what came undone, the scale does not feel broken or unfairly won, because love is not a contract that guarantees the end. It's a season fully lived before it has to bend. We change in subtle ways as people often do, new questions rising quietly under skies once blue. It wasn't loss of feeling or sudden reckless flame, just two evolving currents no longer quite the same. And that is not a failure or something to erase, it's proof that we were honest in giving love its space. I have learned since you how steady I can stand, how to hold my center without a borrowed hand. You taught me tenderness, the strength of staying kind, how to to speak my truth without leaving myself behind. So when I hear our old song drifting through a room, I don't rush to turn it off or brace for gloom. I let it play in quiet tone, let memory unfold, not as a wound unhealed, but as something warm and gold. We were a chapter written with intention and with care, not destined for forever, but real while we were there. And that matters more to me than how the story ends, because loving fully once still shapes how the heart mends. If I saw you walking toward me on some distant street, I would not cross to hide or quicken up my feet. I would meet your eyes directly and offer you a smile, not longing to return or rewrite what's worthwhile, just gratitude for what we built in that particular time. For every shared horizon, for every careful climb, love does not lose its beauty when it chooses to conclude. It keeps the light it carried in quiet gratitude. So no, we do not speak, and maybe that is right, but still I would not trade those years for something slight, because even as we parted and took different view, I carry something steady that began with you. Not regret, not unfinished art, not sorrow to pursue, just the simple truth that once I loved, and so did you. And that is something beautiful. Still it was beautiful.
The door slides shut with softened steel, a muted silver glide. Numbers glowing overhead, marking where I ride. Cable hung behind the walls, low and steady tone. Mirrors holding quiet versions of me alone. Fluorescent light above my head, gentle, slightly dim. Reflection stretching subtly at the metal rim. Buttons lit in patient red, one already pressed, descending without hurry toward whatever's next. Between floors, nothing to perform, no hallway yet to enter, no outside weather storm, just motion in a narrow shaft, measured and contained, a small suspended pocket where nothing must be explained. The piano rests in lower chords, spaced and breathing slow. Brushes trace a delicate beat, soft as falling snow. The bass line hums beneath it, deep like hidden wire, a steady undercurrent carrying me lower. I watch the numbers shifting from 12 to 11. Each small digital change, quiet, almost heaven. There's something in the moving without needing to steer. Trust in unseen systems to carry me from here. I used to fill these seconds with checking glowing screens, scrolling through reflections of other people's scenes. But now I let the silence stand exactly as it is. No urgency and stillness. No pressure to exist between floors, balanced in a slide. Not quite at the bottom, not where I reside. In between feels different when you choose to stay, instead of rushing toward the end of every day. You're allowed to pause midway. A faint mechanical click signals passing 10. The mirror catches steadier eyes than way back when. Descent doesn't mean falling, it doesn't mean decline. Sometimes it's just returning to a clearer line. The air inside is neutral, temperature just right. Not cold enough for tension, not warm enough for fight. A contained and steady movement without dramatic flair. Just cable light and quiet in vertical air between floors. The doors prepared apart. Soon the hallway will receive the weight upon my heart. But in this brief enclosure, there's space to recalibrate, to shed the outer noise before I meet the gate. Almost there. Almost there. A gentle jolt of arrival, leveling the frame, numbers settling back to one without applause or name. The doors slide open slowly to carpet, wall and light. I step out carrying that midpoint quiet between floors. Nothing grand to prove, just learning how to value the pause inside the move. Because not every journey needs a crowd or roar. Sometimes growth is found between one floor and then the next door. Almost there.
I used to walk with careful steps, afraid of what I'd feel, holding every heartbeat back like caution made it real. I told myself I'd had enough of almost and of maybes, of late night talks that faded out into unanswered spaces. But time has a forgiving way of softening the edge, of turning sharp conclusions into something less than dread. I didn't notice when it changed the air around my name, when loving didn't sound like risk or something wrapped in blame. Love feels new on me, not heavy like before, not something I must prove or earn a bargain at the door. It rests upon my shoulders, light and open wide, like something I can carry without trying to hide. I met you on an ordinary day. No fire was above, no grand design or sweeping line that promised perfect love. Just coffee in a corner seat and laughter in your tone. The way you asked me simple things like you were fully known. You didn't try to read my past like it was some test. You didn't rush my answers or ask for more than what I guessed. You search for what to say, and somehow in that breathing, the fear just fell away. I used to think that loving and surrendering control, that I had to shrink my edges to keep somebody whole. But now I see it differently, as something we both bring, two steady separate rhythms, learning how to at all. There's joy inside the ordinary, and walking side by side, in choosing one another without the need to hide, in knowing that tomorrow is not a test to pass, but simply more of living without replaying the past. I still remember old goodbyes, the lessons that they gave, how every ending shaped me and quietly made me brave. But they don't sit like shadows across this open door. They're part of how I learn what love is really for. You hold my hand in public without a need to claim. You speak my name with steadiness, not urgency or flame. And in that calm assurance, I feel my shoulders ease, like love can be a harbor, not just a restless sea. Love feels new on me because I'm new as well. I've grown beyond the version who thought heartbreak was a spell that lingered like a sentence with no release in sight. Now I know love can return, clear and kind and bright. If this becomes a lifetime, or simply what we share in this unfolding chapter of careful, honest care, I won't brace for disaster or wait for it to fall. I'll stand inside the present and give it what I call wholehearted and unguarded, but grounded in my feet. A love that feels expansive yet simple and complete. And if tomorrow shifts again, as futures sometimes do, I'll still believe in loving, because it feels new.
There was a man who carried water from the well each day, 2 buckets on a wooden pole balanced on the way. One was strong and steady, held its shape with pride. The other cracked along the rim with a leak inside. They walked the same dirt pathway, morning into noon. Sun above, impatient heart, returning far too soon. By the time they reached the house, one bucket always full, the other slightly lighter by a quiet pull. The man who carried water never scolded clay, never cursed the fragile seam that let the water stray. He simply walked the same slow road, step steady sure, never rushing either one to be secure. The piano leans in open tones, clear and lightly drawn. Brushes trace a patient beat like footsteps at the dawn. The bass line hums beneath it, deep as rooted ground. A quiet sense of purpose in a humble sound. The cracked one felt embarrassed by the constant spill, watching droplets mark the dust along the hill. I fail you every morning, it said in silent shame. I cannot hold what I'm given, I am not the same. But but seasons shifted gently, green along the side, where falling water touched the earth and quietly complied. Flowers grew in narrow lines, color in the clay, only where the cracked one let water slip away. The man who carried water paused beside the bloom, touched the petals lightly. In the afternoon, you think you lose what's given because you cannot keep. But look at what has grown from you along the steep. Not every leak is lost. The stronger bucket listened, still proud and tall, but saw the hidden beauty in the crack and fall, because perfection never watered anything unseen. It only kept its fullness locked inside and clean. We measure worth by holding, by keeping what we gain, by never showing fracture or letting weakness stain. But some of us are vessels with edges not quite sealed, and sometimes that is exactly how the ground gets healed. The man who carried water kept walking as before, 2 buckets on his shoulder toward the wooden door, one brimming with completion, one marked by every flaw, both part of the journey, both held without a law. You're not broken, you're shaping. So if you feel the dripping from places you can't mend, if you think your fracture means you cannot send your worth into the daylight because you spill along, remember how the flowers bloom the whole way long. Not every crack is failure, not every flaw is cause. Sometimes what escapes you is never truly lost. Sometimes the world is watered by what you cannot store, and beauty grows behind you along the dusty floor.
I walk beneath the rising skyline, neon humming overhead. The evening carries quiet promise in every step I tread. Windows glow like scattered stories layered high above. Every street a moving current pushing gently with. Cars pass by in silver motion, footsteps blend in time. Yet in the middle of this rhythm there is space that's mine. I used to think the city rushed me, pulled me into speed, but tonight it feels expansive, giving room to breathe. The pavement holds the warmth of daylight lingering at my feet. Air is cool against my shoulders, balance clear, complete. I don't need to know the ending of where this path may bend. Freedom lives within the moment, not beyond the end. A saxophone on distant corners spills a mellow tone, threading through the open night, soft but fully grown. It doesn't claim attention loudly, it simply fills the air, like confidence that doesn't boast but knows that it is there. I pause beside inside a glass reflection. See my outline move, not chasing some imagined road, just standing in my groove. The skyline does not measure me or question what I've done. It lets me blend into its glow, distinct yet part of one. There's beauty in anonymity and being undefined. No label pressed upon my chest, no verdict on my mind. Across the bridge above the river, lights dancing below. Water holding fractured stars in steady undertow. The base of traffic far beneath keeps patient, grounded pace, while I move through open air with lifted, easy grace. This isn't escape or hiding from the life I know. It's claiming breath inside the pulse of everywhere I go. The night does not demand a plan or ask for grand display. It offers only moving light and space along the way. I think of all the versions of who I've been before, each one walking streets like these, searching for something more. Now I'm not searching outward for proof that I belong. The belonging lies within my step, steady and strong. A breeze moves through the avenues, carrying distant sound. Laughter drifting from a bar, warm and unbound. I smile without a reason, no headline to pursue, just simple presence in the now, alive and true. Every window, every corner feels like open art, a living map of possibility printed on my heart. The city doesn't cage me, it expands my view. In all this moving, glowing life, I move steady too. No spotlight finds my name tonight, no crowd begins to cheer, yet something brighter settles in. A clarity sincere under lights that never rests, with skyline wide and far. I walk as both the traveler and my own quiet star.
Neon humming in the window, 12:30 again. Countertop in polished chrome, reflecting tired men. A waitress with a practiced smile refills without a word. Jukebox glowing quietly, unchosen, barely heard. I take the stool beside the glass, order black and plain. Steam rising like a thought I couldn't quite explain. There's comfort in the late shift, in being just a name. No resume, no history, no need to stake a claim. Midnight diner coffee, bitter, strong and slow, holding conversations that nobody will know. No spotlight on the stories, no headlines left to chase, just strangers sharing silence in a borrowed place. The piano leans into the hum, low and understated. Brushes trace a lazy swing, patient and unweighted. The bass line rolls beneath it, deep along the floor, like steady reassurance that we've been here before. A trucker talks in fragments about a distant state. A nurse between two shifts, watching numbers tick too late. Nobody interrupts him, nobody pretends. We let each other finish like long forgotten friends. Midnight diner coffee keeps the edges round, soft and sharp reflections without a single sound. There's dignity in staying till the rush has thinned, when the world feels smaller and quieter within. Take your time, no one's counting here. I watch the door swing open, then close without a slam. Another pair of footsteps, another weary man. He orders pie and water, pays in folded bills, the kind of quiet transaction that never overfills. Outside the road is shining from rain that came and went. Traffic lights in patient loops blinking their consent. But here the clock is softer, not pushing, not extreme, just marking gentle minutes like steam against a beam. Midnight diner coffee cools inside my cup. I let it sit a little before I finish up, because the taste is honest, unfiltered and sincere, like every low voice story spoken in here. One more sip, then I'll go. The waitress wipes the counter with steady, easy grace. We share a quiet nod, no hurry to erase the hours that we occupied in that late night glow. Midnight diner coffee, letting heavy hours slow.
I kept the cup you always used on the left side of the sink. I don't know why I never moved it. Maybe I needed time to think about the way you'd lean against me, half awake and half a smile. How the choir wrapped around us like it wanted us to stay a while. We were never loud with promises, never wild with grand displays, just a rhythm in the kitchen, like soft laughter in ordinary days. You'd hum a little out of nowhere while I traced your tired hand. We built a world in subtle glances only we could understand. And loving you was never fireworks, it was steady as a heartbeat drum. It was knowing where your silence ends and where my restless thoughts would run. It was leaning into honesty even when the truth felt sharp. It was finding warmth together in the middle of the dark. Now the chair across from me feels wider than it should, like space has learned to echo where your gentle presence stood. But I don't curse the leaving, I don't break beneath the weight. Some loves are meant to shape you, not necessarily stay. But there was no shattered picture, no slammed doors in the rain, just two hands slowly loosening. Without bitterness or blame, we chose to end with kindness, with gratitude instead of pride. And I swear that kind of ending is a rare and sacred kind. Sometimes I still reach for you when something makes me laugh, like the way the barista smiles, or a song from our old path. And for a second I can feel it, that familiar steady ground. Then I breathe and let it pass me, let the memory be sound. Your name still feels like home, but homes can change their walls, and hearts can learn new languages after love has made them fall. I am not the same as before you, and I don't wanna be. You left your quiet courage living somewhere inside me. If I see you in a crowded room, I won't turn away. I'll meet your eyes with softness for all we couldn't say, because what we had was honest, and honest things don't fade. They settle into who we are in every choice we've made. So I keep the cup a little longer, let the mornings come and go, knowing love can still be beautiful even when we let it go. And somewhere in another life, or maybe just this one, I'll thank you for the way you stayed until our time was done.
I used to rehearse my name like it was a product line. Polished smiles, sharpened facts, every answer time. 30 seconds in a room to justify my place, selling who I thought I was with a perfectly trained face. Handshake firm, eye contact, voice pitched just right, listing all the things I'd done like trophies in a light. Watching nods for validation, scanning for approval, treating every conversation like a silent trial removal. The day I quit the elevator pitch, I felt the tension drop. No more bullet pointed self, no more scripted talk. If you ask me what I do, I might just tell you slow. Not the highlight version, but the things that grow. The piano leans into a groove, more playful than restrained. Brushes snap a lighter swing, unbothered, uncontained. The bass line walks beneath it, confident and loose, like something stepping forward without excuse. I remember standing once between floor 9 and 10, pitching future promises to strangers dressed as friends. And somewhere in that upward glide, I heard myself repeat a version so rehearsed it felt incomplete. So now when someone asks me, what's your 5-year plan? I tell them I'm still learning how to stand, not climbing every ladder just because it's there, not shrinking down my story to make it easier to share. The day I quit the elevator pitch, I started telling truth, that I don't have it figured, that I'm still building proof, that sometimes I get scared, that sometimes I misread, and that the best ideas I've had came when I wasn't ahead. You don't have to sell it, you can just be it. There's something disarming in saying I don't know, and letting conversation take its natural flow. Not chasing every contact, not networking my worth, just meeting people plainly as humans on the earth. And strangely things opened, doors without a push, because authenticity doesn't need a rush. It doesn't sparkle louder or dominate the floor. It simply stands unarmored and asks for nothing more. The day I quit the elevator pitch, I kept my voice the same in hallways, bars and boardrooms. No adjusted tone for fame. And what I lost in polish, I gained in breath and space. A life not built on selling, but on showing up in place. That's who I am. Take it or leave it. Now when the doors slide open, I step out uncompressed. Not optimized for strangers, not performance dress. Because a person isn't branding or angels tightly stitched. And I've never felt more solid since I quit the pitch.
Let the silence settle on the table between my hands. Steam is rising slowly from a porcelain cup. There's a quiet kind of courage in the way I breathe today. Not loud, not shining, just steady enough. I don't need a miracle to pull me to my feet. I don't need applause to know I'm complete. There's a rhythm in my chest like a gentle refrain, telling me softly I can begin again. The light moves easy across the wooden floor, tracing every doubt I carried before. It doesn't rush me, it doesn't demand, it simply rests like a touch on my hand. I question my word, measure my dreams by the weight of the hurt. But something tender is changing inside, a deeper tone I no longer hide. I am not broken, I am becoming. Every small heartbeat keeps coming. Not of sorrow, not of fear, but of something honest and clear. Let the day open like pages I've read, familiar but different in what lies ahead. I don't need answers tied up in gold, just the warmth of a story unfolding. There's strength in the way I sit with my flaws, grace in the pause between breaths and applause. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme, just a woman believing her own quiet dream. The baseline lingers beneath my skin, soft like forgiveness settling in. Each brush rhythm keeps time with my soul, gentle and grounded, making me whole. I used to chase every echo outside, looking for proof in the turning tide. Now I'm listening close to the sound of my own hope rising up from the ground. It's not a fire that blazes bright, it's more like a steady, faithful light, guiding my steps without a shout, teaching my heart what trust's about. If tomorrow bends in an unexpected way. I know I'll find my balance, I'll stay present and open, steady and true, holding the calm that carries me through. So here at this table, breathing slow, feeling the warmth in the undertow. I lift my eyes, I lift my chin, softly, surely I begin again.
I wake before the city, not because I have to run, just to hear the quiet settle before the day's begun. The kettle hums a low note, like it knows the tune. Steam rising in the kitchen, soft and slow and soon. There's comfort in the simple ritual of the cup, in pouring without thinking and letting shoulders drop. No headlines in the background, no racing through a feed, just light across the counter and breathing what I need. This slow table by the window is where I find my ground, where nothing asks for more of me than what I've already found. The world can wait a moment, it doesn't disappear, while I sit inside the stillness and let my thoughts grow clear. The piano plays in fragments, gentle, unannounced, brushes barely tracing, a rhythm soft and round. The bass line feels like heartbeat, steady and discreet, a reminder I don't have to chase every moving street. I used to check the clock before my eyes were open, counting every second like time was something stolen. But now I let it stretch across the wooden floor. Minutes feel less urgent than they ever did before. This slow table by the window teaches me to stay. Not every morning needs a perfectly planned day. Sometimes it's just about the way the sunlight leans, and how a quiet presence can smooth the sharpest seams. No one's watching, no one's grading, you can breathe. There's a softness in the silence that doesn't feel alone. It feels like space expanding into something fully grown. A place where I can listen without a need to fix, where small unfinished questions don't demand quick tricks. I stir the cup in circles, watching cream unfold, patterns forming briefly before they gently fold. There's beauty in the fleeting, in moments not displayed, in living without staging the choices that are made. This slow table by the window is not about escape. It's where I meet myself without adjusting shape. No louder version needed, no sharper point of view, just honesty and quiet and something steady true. Take your time, it's already enough. Outside the traffic gathers, voices start to rise, but I don't feel the pressure. behind my waking eyes, because I've built this pocket of calm before the climb, a grounded kind of clarity that isn't bound by time. This slow table by the window will still be here tomorrow, waiting with the same embrace through joy or through mild sorrow. And that is more than plenty, more than I once knew. That peace can start so simply, with nothing left to prove.
Awake before the noise can claim the room, before the clock decides my pace. There's a softness resting on the floor, a quiet kind of grace. I tie my hair and open up the blinds, let air move slow and free. The city hasn't fully found its voice, and neither have I yet. I breathe. There's coffee warming in my hands, porcelain against my skin, steam rising like a whispered plan of where this day might begin. I used to rush into the light as if I'd fall behind, chasing something undefined that never eased my mind. But now I sit and let it land, this gentle golden hour, not asking it to prove itself or hand me sudden power. The piano in the corner hums soft chords I almost know, like memory brushing past my sleeve in undertones below. I think of roads I've taken fast and ones I let unfold, of conversations left mid-air, of stories half retold. Nothing feels like wasted ground, even the turns that bend, they shape the way I hold myself in quiet confidence. There's strength in not reacting first, in letting moments breathe, in choosing calm as my reply instead of restless need. I watch a stranger take her seat across the narrow space. She carries something in her eyes, a question on her face. We do not speak, we simply share the early morning hush, two lives aligned in passing light without a need to rush. The pace of traffic far away keeps time beneath the street, a steady pulse reminding me that I am on my feet. I don't require a grand design to validate this day, just honest work and open tone in what I choose to say. There was a time I doubted this, my worth without a crowd. I thought applause would make it real or make my spirit loud. But meaning doesn't have to shout or blaze across the sky. It lives inside the measured breath between the low and high. I gather thoughts like folded notes and slip them in my bag. Not burdens, just reminders of dreams I choose to have. The door swings wide, the light expands across the polished floor. I stand not smaller than before, but settled at my core. The day is not a race to win or something to defend. It's simply space where I can place the truest parts I send. If plans should shift or fade away, I trust the ground I've grown. My voice is warm, my steps are sure, my balance fully known. I walk outside with lifted chin, no armor left to wear. The world can move in louder waves, I answer with clear air. Every breath a gentle claim, every glance aware that life is not what waits ahead, but what is is living here. And as the rhythm finds my stride, smooth and unafraid, I carry quiet certainty in every choice I've made. The morning does not promise ease or guarantee a clean. It offers only open space, and I step in the same. No borrowed light, no hurried plea, no echo to outrun, just steady warmth inside my chest where the day begins with me.
The driver barely looks at me as I tap and find a place. Last seat on a midnight bus, city lights across my face. Windows hum with quiet roads, headlights slide like streams. Everyone is half awake, suspended in between. There's something about late travel that loosens up the mind. When conversations fade away and no one asks for time. No introductions needed, no versions to maintain. Just breathing with the rhythm of steady passing lanes. Night bus, last seat, nothing left to prove. No one here expects a thing, no image to improve. Just engines, low vibration under dim fluorescent blue. A quiet moving pocket where I can just be true. The piano leans in gently with wide and open space. Brushes sweep a lazy beat, unhurried in their pace. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and calm and slow, like reassurance traveling where only I can go. I watch reflections overlap on glass and shadowed frame. My face dissolving softly into passing signs and names. Billboards blur to color, street lights melt to lines. Everything feels distant, yet perfectly aligned. I used to fill these moments with scrolling, glowing screens, feeding restless thinking with endless digital scenes. But tonight I let the darkness stay simple and uncut. There's clarity in letting the outside volume drop. Night bus, last seat, carrying the day, letting all the sharpest parts smooth themselves away. No dramatic turning point, no sudden grand release, just miles unfolding quietly into something like a piece. You made it through. That's enough. Nods and drifting sleep. Someone else is whispering into headphones deep. Lives unfolding silently beside me in a row. All of us in transit with places yet to go. There's comfort in the temporary, in seats we do not own, in knowing every stop ahead will set someone alone. Movement doesn't mean escape, it doesn't mean we flee. Sometimes it's just a softer way to sit more honestly. this last seat, almost at my stop. The engine slows its steady hum as the signal lights pop. I stand without reluctance, step down into the street, carrying that quiet space still echoing beneath. The doors close with a patient sigh, taillights fade from view. The road feels slightly different, cooler, somehow new. And I walk the final blocks without the usual rush, because the ride reminded me to lower every hush.
You pour the wine a little slower than you used to before, watching how the red light settles across the wooden floor. There's music drifting from the corner, low and almost thin, a brushed impatient rhythm, like something wearing in. We've had this bottle waiting for a night that felt just right, but somehow it feels different under softer light. You lean back in the chair with that familiar gaze, not distant, not defensive, just lost in thought these days. I know the curve of your expression when something weighs your mind, the way you hold your silence, measured, calm, refined. We speak of ordinary things, work and passing plans, avoiding all the fragile parts resting in our hands. It isn't that we don't care or that we've grown apart, it's that the air between us now feels heavier at heart. I reach to touch your wrist, then let my fingers fall, not out of fear of closeness, but sensing something small. A shift too subtle to accuse, too honest to ignore, like footsteps fading softly just beyond the door. You say my name the way you do, low and steady still, but there's a space inside the sound that once was filled. I used to know exactly where your laughter would begin. Now it lingers half a breath before it settles in. We built this love with careful hands, brick by patient brick, not fiery and reckless, but steady, warm and thick. So how do you admit aloud that warmth has changed its tone without pretending it is lost or claiming you're alone? You take a sip and close your eyes as if to find a word. I watch the small movement of your throat and wait to be heard, but neither one wants drama or a door slammed shut. We've always chosen kindness, even when it cut. The window holds our reflection, two silhouettes in frame, familiar in their outline, yet altered just the same. I don't regret the years we gave or nights that felt like home. Love can be complete and still outgrown. You reach across the table, this time you don't withdraw. Your hand is warm, deliberate, without a hidden law. If we let this end with grace, you say, almost a plea, will you still remember us the way I choose to see? And something in that honesty unnots what I had feared. This isn't loss or failure, just clarity made clear. We finish what is left inside the bottle and the air. No promises to rewrite, no desperate repair. When you you stand and take your coat. You brush against my side, a final quiet closeness. Neither one denies. Outside the night is open, cool against my skin, and I don't feel abandoned or hollowed out within, because the last glass between us was not a bitter end. It was two hearts choosing gently where love could bend, and in that careful leaving without a raised defense, we kept the thing that mattered most, our shared intelligence.
Yeah. Street still wrapped in early gray, shutters halfway raised, windows fogged from ovens on in amber gentle haze. Bell above the narrow door gives a softened ring, flower dust in morning air like light on everything. Aprons tied in quiet knots, hands moving with care, dough resting beneath linen and patient rounded air. Trays slide into metal racks, heat breathing from within. The scent of yeast and butter settles on my skin. Warm bread at dawn, not hurried, not displayed, just crust beginning to take shape where careful work was made. No rush of loud customers, no crowded line to claim, just ovens humming low and sure without a need for fame. The piano moves in mellow chords, soft and slightly sweet. Brushes mark a gentle sway like flower on bare feet. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and comforting, a steady undertone in everything I'm sensing. I watch the baker score the tops with a practiced hand, small precise incisions before the loaves can stand. Steam escapes in quiet bursts when oven doors swing wide, golden edges forming with warmth they cannot hide. I used to skip these mornings, sleep through early light, chasing louder evenings into later night. But there's a kind of clarity in rising with the bread and seeing something simple grow from what was spread. Warm bread at dawn feels grounded and sincere, not promising a miracle, just something real and near. The first loaf hits the wooden board with a hollow sound, knife tapping on the counter as crust is turned around. Take it slow, feel the heat in your hands. Paper bag held open, loaf placed carefully, warmth pressing through the fold into my palm softly. Butter melting slowly to start. The sky turns slightly brighter, gray giving way to hue. I tear another piece, still soft and almost new. Warm bread at dawn, simple, steady, true. A small and honest beginning to carry me through.
I heard you moved across the city, found a place with taller walls, a window facing westward where the evening gently falls. Someone said you cut your hair short like you needed something new. I smiled at that small detail, it sounded just like you. We haven't spoken in a while, no reason left to call, but that doesn't mean I wish you any less than all. The tenderness we carried didn't vanish with goodbye. It settled into memory without asking why. I hope you find it all, the laughter wide and free, a love that feels like breathing, easy as it should be. I hope your days are steady, your nights are calm and warm, a hand that fits inside yours, safe from every storm. I won't pretend I didn't ache when we first let it go. I walked through rooms of silence, learning how to grow. But growing doesn't harden, it doesn't close the door. It simply shifts the meaning of what we're grateful for. You taught me how to listen beyond my own defense, how to hold a fragile truth with patience and with sense. You showed me love is not a race or something to control. It's meeting someone gently and letting kindness hold. I hope you find it all, a kitchen filled with light, conversation stretching long into the quiet night, a partner who sees clearly the strength inside your doubt and never tries to dim you or leave you figuring out. If someone else is standing where I once used to be, I hope they understand the way you think so carefully, how you need a little distance before you open wide, how loyalty runs deeper than anything you hide. There is no bitterness here, no secret wish to claim the pieces of your future or circle back your name. What we had was real enough to bless and then release. Some loves are meant for seasons, some end in lasting peace. I hope you find it all, I hope you find it all, the courage to begin again without comparing or carrying what's been. I hope your heart feels lighter than it did with me, not because I held you down, but because you're finally free. I found my own horizon, a different shade of blue. I'm learning how to stand alone and still be open to. The past is not a burden, it's a chapter clear and bright, a story I can cherish without needing still call a gift that shaped my future and taught me how to fall. I hope you find it all, every quiet dream, every steady heartbeat, every honest scheme. And if you ever think of me, let it be with these, like a melody remembered, carried on a breeze. There's room inside my wishing for both of us to rise, separate but grateful under different skies. And somewhere in that distance, beyond the what and why, I hope you find it all, and I hope you never have to say goodbye.
I'm not optimized for mornings or productivity hacks. I don't wake up glowing with gratitude and stacks. I don't track my macros or cold plunge before dawn. Some days I hit the snooze and still get moving on. I tried the perfect system, color-coded plans, bullet journals, planners with tidy little spans. But life kept spilling sideways out of every box. Turns out I'm not software and I don't need new locks. I'm not optimized, I'm human and uneven. Some weeks I feel electric, some weeks barely breathing. I don't run on metrics or quarterly design. I move in messy progress and that works fine. The piano's got a punch tonight, short chords, confident brushes, snapping accents like mild argument. The bass line walks with backbone, low and self-assured. Not flashy, not apologetic, just firm and assured. I used to think efficiency was equal to my worth, like every wasted minute reduced my value on earth. Like rest was some indulgence, like pause meant I would fall, like only constant motion proved anything at all. But I burned out before on self-improvement schemes, chasing upgraded versions of unrealistic dreams, downloading someone else's life through curated feeds, comparing my behind the scenes to their highlight reels and leaves. I'm not optimized, I'm not optimized. Yeah, ooh, I'm not optimized and I don't need to be. I'm not a brand of polish or a trending strategy. I don't have to monetize every single skill or turn each quiet hobby into something billable. Let it be ordinary, let it be enough. I can be inconsistent and still be reliable. Take the long way forward without being deniable. Miss a gym day, skip a post, forget a trending take, and still wake up tomorrow with something real at stake. The world will sell you upgrades like you're slightly out of date. New routines, new mindsets, new reasons to be great. But I'm allowed to plateau, to wander, stall and bend. Growth doesn't always look like a graph that climbs without